Have you ever wondered what would happen if Gojo Satoru had the chance to go back to the very beginning of his life with all of his memories and experiences intact? Would he have the time and opportunity to finally beat Sukuna? Could he stop Kenjaku from enacting his plan? Would he be able to stop the tragedies that strike those that he cares about? Well, this will be a little more interesting from your average time travel reincarnation twist, because in Jujutsu Kaisen, the afterlife is a real thing, and we see Gojo go there just chilling with his old high school buddies. So will this still happen? Well, for this scenario to work, we'll go with a yes, because in that afterlife, Gojo hears a strange ring and the sound of a crying baby. None of the others seem to hear it, so he goes to investigate, and there he finds a train that looks ready to depart. Gojo intuitively knows it's a second shot, a chance to start over from the beginning, to be reborn. The others, like Geto and Nanami, tell him to let it go, to finally enjoy the peace and let him live life and move on. The new generation can take things from there, but Gojo can't. While he believes in his students and their abilities, he also doesn't want them to go through this alone. He has so many regrets, lost friends, and the names of so many people that he's lost over the years, and he sees a chance to fix it. So he goes on the train and finds himself opening his eyes as a newborn baby. He remembers everything from the beginning to his end, and he plans to change all of it. But first, he must go through one of the most brutal tasks out there, being a baby. You'd think it's all fun and games because all babies do is cry and sleep and eat and poop, but that's because we're too tiny to know how humiliating it is. But Gojo has the mind of an adult trapped in the body of a baby. He has a few rough years going for him, enough to break some men. But time passes, and his desperation to not be completely helpless lets him unlock some of his cursed energy early on, letting him do things that most babies can't. And with that comes his plan, to save Japan from the threats that'll arise and stop the tragedies that'll come to pass. And it all starts with one man, Geto Suguru. To save everyone, he needs to save the one man who mattered to him most. As time passes by and Gojo finally grows into his childhood body, he thinks about when he can start making changes to the past, but decides it's best to let things play out for the time being, since he doesn't know what his actions could cause in these early scenarios, which means no telling anyone else of his reincarnation, which really just works because who on earth would believe a 4-year-old, even one as gifted as him? So when he once again notices Toji Fushiguro staking him out, he makes sure to let Toji know that not only does he notice, but he knows. And just because Gojo's letting the story play out as it would for now doesn't mean he's not going to be prepared for the worst. The guy is simultaneously a genius and a prodigy, and while the past Gojo was competent in his strength and abilities, time and again, his arrogance and his habit of letting his guard down caused him losses. So this time, he'll make sure to be prepared for any circumstance. That means that Gojo's already starting his training pretty early on, developing his cursed energy as young as 4. He'll keep it quiet though. He knows the timings, behaviors, and all of the other little details of those around them, so he knows how to fool them. What once took him years to learn is now possible in just a few months, thanks to his experience from his past life. So things happen pretty much the same way until he meets the man who caused him so much pain and joy, Geto, in Jujutsu High. Gojo tries to keep his guard up, stop himself from getting too close in case he ends up failing and going through the pain he did before, but he fails that miserably. Gojo has always lived a lonely existence, and deep down, all he wanted was a bond, someone he can see as an equal, and Geto was just that for Gojo. Geto, of course, has no idea about any of this and just assumes it's because Gojo's a spoiled brat with too much power, but in the end, their friendship begins again, and things continue like usual for a time because the comfort of having friends by his side actually makes Gojo forget his troubles. He keeps telling himself that he's got time now, he's prepared, he's already way stronger than he was before thanks to his experience. Everything will be fine. Then, the mission arrives. Despite his plan to keep track of everything, Gojo's new lease on life made him careless again, and the mission for the Star Plasma vessel arrived faster than he anticipated. He and Geto are tasked with keeping her safe, and Gojo knows that this is the catalyst that leads to so much tragedy down the line. But it won't happen again. He's prepared, he's so much stronger. Riko Amanai will be safe this time, won't she? Gojo lets Riko do all the things she did before, and after all, she deserves the opportunity to be a normal girl for a while, and it might be key in keeping her from becoming Tengen. Besides, all the secret training Gojo's been doing since he was 4 has allowed his curse energy reserves and control to already vastly exceed anything he had as a teenager then. And since he knows how to use reverse curse technique, he can keep her safe if anything pops up. Naturally, Gojo made a point of not showing this new talent to anyone else. No, Geto is definitely suspicious of Gojo and the fact that he's hiding something, since you can't hang out with someone for that long and not be suspicious. Still though, things are going along as they did before. Some of the members of Q and those bounty hunters strike, but they're all beaten pretty easily. Then Toji Fushiguro appears. Gojo's always had some pretty intense hate for the guy, which you can't really blame him for since technically speaking, he's kind of at fault for everything that went wrong, so Gojo is definitely going to enjoy what happens next. He tells the others to leave while handling the assassin. As they head off, Gojo takes the kid gloves off and shows the heavenly restricted Merc just what the blessed one can do. As soon as Toji is in range, Gojo immediately activates his domain expansion unlimited void. point. Now, as a being with zero cursed energy, Toji is exempt from the effects of quite a few domain attacks since it usually marks him as an object. But Gojo knows this and knows that there are ways around it, so he simply allows his domain to affect objects using open barrier, allowing him to target Toji. As he's now trapped in the sure hits of the domain, Gojo decides to talk to the man, making sure he can hear every word that he says as he explains just who he is, what he knows, and tells him all about Megumi. There wasn't really a reason for it other than the fact that Gojo truly hates the man that much, as he lets his final moments consist of knowing just how much pain his own existence causes, and how much better his own son is now that Tojo won't be around. Tojo, of course, dies as the domain ends. As his mind is just mush at this point from sheer information overload, Gojo also makes sure to destroy the body so no one gets any ideas. With this, Riko is finally safe, and Gojo returns to the gang with a smile on his face as he manages to fulfill 2 lifelong wishes, saving his friends and killing Toji again. So they stand over the path leading to the Tengen, and the conversation happens again. Does Riko want to be the vessel or live her life as a normal girl? And just like last time, Riko chooses to live her own life. Except there is no abrupt end, just the sound of a girl deciding to live her own life after being told to take over someone else's for so long. But that's not the end of this tale yet. Geto is happy. The pain he suffers from the helplessness of not saving Riko and witnessing the children of the star and their cruelty doesn't happen. But Gojo needs to take some steps in the long run now that he's prevented one tragedy. He goes to meet Master Tengen, taking the door that Riko would have. And so, if you don't want to get shot like Riko in the original timeline, I would advise that you like and subscribe. But anyway, normally Tengen isn't one to take risks with their life, considering how vital it is for Jujutsu society. But Tengen knows who Gojo is and allows him to enter their chambers. From there, Gojo puts all of his cards on the table, explaining his nature, how he's a being from the future who was sent back, and all of the things he knows will happen if nothing is done. Of course, even with Gojo's status as a Six Eyes wielder, no one's going to blindly trust that, but Tengen has lived a long enough life and is a pretty good judge of character. It also helps that Gojo very likely learned a lot about Tengen from Choso, which would also help him in verifying his story. By the end, Tengen believes him, but naturally asks what Gojo expects them to do with this information. Simple: prepare a prison that can contain Sukuna. While Gojo is certain that he can grow strong enough to take Sukuna now, he knows better than to take any risk with a man as crafty as the King of Curses. Since the nature of the fingers and how they work is pretty well established now, Gojo hopes that Tengen can use the time they have to devise techniques, barriers, and seals to keep Sukuna under control, or in the event of a catastrophe, stop him for good. There's no question that just now, Gojo has just stopped a massive tragedy from taking place, but it's also a reminder that he can't be lazy. He needs to prepare for the threats to come, because Sukuna is only one side of the coin. The other contains the only being as dangerous to Jujutsu society, Kenjaku. It's why he also warns Tengen of Kenjaku finding the prison round object in the near future, and that they need to take steps to keep it from falling into his hands. But then Tengen says something interesting. They should leave it as it is for now. And this kind of shocks Gojo, since the cube is kind of the crux of the cursed spirit's scheme in stopping him, and with it destroying Jujutsu society. But that's exactly why Tengen believes they should let it happen. If they take the prison cube away, it does ruin Kenjaku's scheme, but it also means that he'll try to come up with a new one they can't predict, and it may be one that could lead to further dangers down the line. Gojo begrudgingly agrees, because it is an annoyingly good point. They don't know where Kenjaku is, so they can't stop him now, and their knowledge of his plan means that they can at least predict every move they'll make. Taking it away brings uncertainty to the situation, and they just can't risk it for the greater good. So the cursed object remains where it is, but Tengen promises to find a way to effectively break out of it in case the worst happens. Gojo then leaves and is reunited with a very confused Geto, to which Gojo pulls his usual stick and tries to play the whole thing off as him telling Tengen to back off from Riko, but Geto doesn't buy it. As they walk away from the tombs of the star, Geto wonders if he truly knows his best friend. As time passed by, things turned back to how they were before, with some changes, like how he saved Yu Haibira's life from that grade 1 cursed spirit. While Gojo was required to take more and more missions, he demanded that Geto go along with them, learning from his mistake earlier about leading too solitary of a life and how it caused Satoru to feel isolated. But it's not going as he thought it would. While Geto doesn't feel the hate for humans as he had in the past, it's now filled with suspicion for Gojo's behavior, his actions at the temple, and his constant need to bring him on every mission as if he can't trust him alone. Eventually, it leads to a breaking point, causing Geto to confront Gojo on what's really going on and what he's hiding. Gojo panics on the inside as he fears saying the wrong thing and destroying everything he has worked so hard to save. But he also knows that it was his habit of taking things on alone that caused so many of the problems. So, Gojo reveals the truth. Not all of it, but does let him know that this isn't his first time being alive. Naturally, Geto is shocked and asks quite a few questions, but Gojo just says that he can't say most of it in case it causes future damage. But he does let him know of some of the things that he was capable of, his hate for the humans and the attempt to create a sorcerer-only society. It takes time for the two of them to reconcile with his info, but Geto learns to trust him again, and now Gojo has someone he can talk to who knows his secret. Time passes as it did before, but now Geto's a teacher along with Gojo, and it's not just the usual first 4 years as before. After Yuta arrives, they also have Nanako and Mimiko Hisaba since Geto rescues them again with Gojo's info, and they become regular members of Jujutsu High. Since Suguru isn't insane and evil too, there's no real threat for them to face, and Gojo's knowledge of Yuta's techniques helps the poor guy master many of the arts that would have been a trauma for him to learn before. Plus, Gojo warns Geto of Kenjaku and his plan to take his body, leaving the cursed sorcerer no room to take Geto, leaving him to find someone else. Time continues to fly by. Gojo kept things how they were before, but this time he saved Megumi's sister from the coma. The thing that really bugs Gojo involves his soon-to-be new student, Itadori. It's a fact that he's the only one capable of containing Sukuna, but it'll lead to a lot of pain for the kid down the road. So this time, he's gonna make sure Itadori chooses what's gonna happen next. He sends Megumi first, like before, but Gojo is there watching the entire time. And when it comes down to the point where Itadori needs to eat the finger, Gojo appears and handles the cursed spirit, saving everyone. He brings Itadori over to a safe spot and lets him know a little bit of what's going on, namely how he's an ideal vessel. They've already had a plan before on how to stop Sukuna with Yuji's help, and so Gojo knows he's still their best shot at stopping Sukuna. The only problem is that giving him a choice means the possibility of refusal, since there's no risk of death this time. But Gojo underestimates just how decent a guy Itadori is, as the kid agrees to help, and with it, they are one step closer to a happy ending. With his knowledge, Gojo already had a good idea of where most of the cursed fingers are, and gathered them up for Itadori when the time was right. He also sped up much of the main trio's training since he has a better idea of their techniques, workings, and Gojo especially worked with Itadori, making sure he's strong enough to handle Sukuna when the time came. Gojo kept all of this hush-hush so the mole can't find out, but he knows that it won't be long before Kenjaku learns of Yuji and what it all means. Then, when the time came for Mahito to make his move, Gojo had to be careful, as disrupting the bad guy's plan too far could lead to trouble down the line. But he knew he couldn't let all of those deaths come to pass. Gojo couldn't go himself, and Itadori wasn't strong enough yet to handle things with Sukuna not around, so he made sure to bring in Nanami like before, and also Geto for extra security. That extra help, it made the difference, especially since Geto is in the know and has the info on where Mahito will strike, so he works to make their discovery of him seem like good luck. Before, Mahito managed to escape, but Geto is there this time, and his technique allows him to not only defeat Mahito, but control him as well, since he's too weak at this point to fight back, ending the threat. That put a real dent in Kenjaku's plan, and it also means they needed more allies, so the Kyoto event, it continued, especially since their mole told him of Itadori's existence. And since Kenjaku's the one who gave birth to the kid, he knows what it means for their plan to revive Sukuna. Things then go as they did before, with the curtain preventing Gojo from entering, but this is actually what he's hoping for. With Mahito gone, another needed to go and grab the goods, and Jogo is incapacitated from his last encounter with Gojo, and there's too much risk to leave to chance, so Kenjaku goes himself, which is where he encounters Geto. The two clash for a while, but Kenjaku grows suspicious and discovers too late that that was just a delay tactic as Gojo soon arrives. Having taken care of the other intruders, Kenjaku tries to use the prison realm as a last-ditch effort, but Gojo is fully focused, and it's not long before he's destroyed, bringing an end to his centuries-long scheme, only leaving one final threat to Jujutsu society. The biggest threats are down, and the only thing left is to take care of Sukuna once and for all. And with this, they take their time, working on getting Itadori to master techniques that'll help him in containing Sukuna. Once they were certain Itadori was ready, especially in hiding his intentions and memories from Sukuna, save a few, he started to eat the fingers gradually. After a few months, Itadori was getting the hang of controlling Sukuna while strengthening his own power as well. At that point, Tengen had created the countermeasure to stop Sukuna by modifying the prison realm to trap a soul instead of a body. Sukuna, who at this point couldn't maintain the same level of control as before, and since Itadori is wise to his tricks thanks to Gojo, Sukuna finds himself helpless. By the end, they use the prison realm to seal Sukuna once and for all. And the benefit of trapping a soul without a body is that even if Sukuna were to escape, it would simply spell his end, as there's no body for him to use once free, guaranteeing that no matter what, the threat of Sukuna is over. That means that all the threats that hounded Gojo in his past life are no more, and what stands before him are all the comrades and students that he once thought were lost now stand before him, talking, celebrating, and enjoying a life that they didn't think was possible. There was no Shibuya incident, no grand reveal of the Jujutsu sorcerers, no culling games. The world was more peaceful, even if it was only for a little bit. It was all worth it. And folks, that's what would happen if Gojo was reborn with all of his memories. So, what did you think? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, press all the buttons, you know how this works. And if you're curious, here's what would happen if Deku was the one that was reborn with all of his memories. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye!